රිවයින් කරන්න පුළුවන් නිසා මුකුත් මගේ වෙන්නේ.
BOTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Good evening tonight. Calling back for doom. State Minister of Child Affairs Vijayakala Maheshwaran makes a controversial statement in Jaffna. Says Tamil people need the LTTE back. Delayed audits. Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe says that there is a delay in debating reports already prepared by his department. Fall back from the expose. General Secretary of the Lanka Samasamaja Party, Professor Tissa Vitharana, urges the public not to be misled by fake news from the New York Times.
We appeal to the public not to be misled by these moves.
Blocking Rajapaksas. Minister of Justice Thalatha Athukorala says that the Rajapaksas will not be able to contest the upcoming 2020 presidential election. And in international headlines, Mexico's new leader, the left-wing candidate Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, has claimed the victory in Mexico's decisive presidential election. It is 9 o'clock on the dot. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. Hello everyone, I'm Mahish Johnny. The fuel crisis between the CPC and SriLankan Airlines is going down to the wire. We'll have the details on this segment. But first, we want to take you to Jaffna, where the President's official mission program took place. Even before the 10-year mark is being commemorated since the end of the long civil war that brutally killed many in both sides of the aisle, State Minister of Child Affairs Vijayakala Maheshwaran today made a controversial statement. She emphasized the need of wanting the rise of the LTTE back again in the country and in the lives of the Tamil community in Jaffna. She made this statement at an event held in Jaffna today.
The inaugural ceremony of the program, President's Official Mission, was held at Veerasingham Hall in Jaffna today. Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneshwaran, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tilak Marapana, Minister of Home Affairs, Vajirabe Vardhana, and State Minister of Child Affairs, Vijayakala Maheshwaran, as well as M.A. Sumandiran, was present at the occasion.
I see you as a group of people who went through many problems. As a nation and as a government, we have an enormous responsibility to equally treat the people living in these areas and to provide them with all the facilities possible.
A 6-year-old student of ours was raped and murdered. In such a backdrop, why does the Northern Province need the program President's official mission? Is it for the rise of such crimes that we appointed the President? We made him the President amidst many difficulties. What did he do as the President? He is only working for the growth of his party but never protected our people. I remember how we lived back then under the LTTE. Our main view is for the LTTE to rise again. If we want to be alive, to walk safely in roads, and if the children should come back home safely after school, the LTTE should raise their heads. Except the fact that this government released our lands, which I'm truly grateful for, they have done nothing. We are also holding ministerial positions in this government, and we cannot speak against our leadership since we have limits. But at some instances, we have to go beyond our limits.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the government is currently focused on a rapid economic development program which will ensure positive outcomes within the next 18 months. The Premier made these remarks at an event held in Kandy yesterday.
The event to grant deeds to estate workers under the Haritha Bhumi Land Deeds program was held in Hantana, Kandy under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
We've created the opportunity for the relevant ministers to launch a rapid economic development program in the next 18 months. We will be able to see the economic development in a short period of time, and it will give people the chance to earn more money. Even with much difficulty, we were able to pay off most of the country's debt by 2016. We had to increase the VAT and prices of commodities. We were heavily criticized by everyone. As a result, we had to face consequences during the recent local authorities election. But we were not ready to mislead you. Instead, we stabilized the economy. This will now allow the ministers to engage in a rapid economic development program. The group of 16 who recently left the unity government participated in its first official meeting with the joint opposition headed by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. These decisive discussions were held at the former president's residence in Colombo today. All political party leaders, parliamentarians who represent the joint opposition as well as the members of the group of 16, except for parliamentarians S.B. Dissanayake and Dasiri Jayasekara, participated in these discussions. Speaking to First at 9 following the meeting, parliamentarians said the discussion centered around how they plan to work together as a team in political matters within the parliament as well as outside its premises. They have also come to an agreement to hold parliamentary discussions as a unified group from tomorrow.
SriLankan නිදහස් පක්ෂය නෙමෙයි UPFA එක හැටියට අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
The Auditor General, Gamini Vijayasinghe, says that there is a delay in debating reports prepared by his department pertaining to several financial frauds that have taken place in the past few years. The Auditor General made these comments when he met the Mahanayakas of the Malwatu and Asgiri chapters today.
Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe, together with several officials of the department, arrived at the Temple of the Sacred Tooth relic this morning and paid their homage. Later, the Auditor General called on the Chief Prelate of the Asgiri chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnana Ratana Thera. Venerable Thera was briefed by the Auditor General on the National Audit Bill, scheduled to be presented to Parliament this Thursday. The Auditor General later met with the Chief Prelate of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Sumangala Thera.
There are over 20 reports so far. All those reports are made public. However, there's a delay in debating those reports. So I believe in the future those reports will be debated. Then issues like the bond scam will once again surface. With regard to the Hambantota Port, we have not been able to do an audit of the port, mainly because the Hambantota Port project was a special project. It was not under our audit. With regard to the central bank bond issuance, we've done the audit since 2008. Now we are at the process of conducting the forensic audit. We've called tenders for that process on an international level. So accordingly, we will be able to uncover any corruption that has taken place in the past 10 years. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa is taking action against the New York Times article, but not against the New York Times, instead against the local media that reported the issue. The former head of state, addressing an event in Kurunegala, says that he will take legal action against all media institutions that reported on the unfounded and untrue claims made by the New York Times, which ended in defaming his name.
The former president was attending an event where he met members of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna in Kurunegala.
Now they managed to bring the $18 billion to 76 million and on distributing saris and t-shirts. You can give 4 saris to every woman in Sri Lanka from that money. It was not given to me. It's there on Facebook. Now 18 billion means you are one of the richest persons in the world. So you're not treating me right. Even Trump is worth only $2 billion. So why should I even think of meeting Trump? People ask me why I don't do that. And my question to them is, why should I? As I'm worth over 18 billion. This is a blatant joke. So in the media, this plays out in a very negative way. Many are asking me to sue these media institutions. So I've now prepared a letter of demand. The party too will send one. The accusation is as such that this was given to the party and not to me personally. So the party too will take action. We have given instructions to our lawyers to take action against media institutions here. We will never accept money from any foreign source to our election campaign. If we continue the war, then we are the best. You cannot solve problems by intimidating my family or me. Do something to the nation and get into the history books that way. General Secretary of the Lanka Sama Samaj Party, Professor Tissa Vitarana, says that the government is in an effort to deprive the people of their democratic right to vote by postponing the provincial council election. Also commenting on the New York Times article directed against former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the professor urged the public not to be misled by fake news.
The democratic right to cast their vote and change the government is now being interfered with once again by various moves. One move is to try to delay the holding of elections as far as possible. So if there is going to be any delay in this, it will be the responsibility of this government. It is trying to deprive the people of their democratic right to exercise the vote. The list prepared by the Moody Company of the United States of countries that are in imminent danger of going into bankruptcy, Sri Lanka is placed number 6. If this government continues in this way, adding to our debt burden tremendously, we will be faced with that terrible future. So we no longer want this government in power. Get out as quickly as possible and give us the right to use our democratic franchise and elect a new government.
Professor Vitarana went on to urge the public not to be misled by fake news directed towards defaming former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Published in the New York Times, a defamatory statement directed against the former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to the effect that received $7.5 million. Now, this charge was made earlier before the 2015 August elections in July that year by Reuters. And the same charges were brought up. There have been 3 years since then for the FCID, for the CID to have investigated and found out if there was any substance in those charges and taken action against Mahinda Rajapaksa. But they have been unable to do that. The New York Times has got such a bad reputation that America's own president has stated very clearly that it is propagating fake news without any factual basis. So we appeal to the public not to be misled by these moves.
Now, among the prominent figures who responded against the recent report by the New York Times is former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He alleges that the report was published in an attempt to conceal government's inability to develop the Hambantota port as a resourceful, profit-making entity. The former Defence Secretary made these remarks following a religious event held in Wadduwa yesterday. It's a false statement. The reporter had based her article only on the information given by the government. This shows that the article is biased towards the government. The Hambantota report was one we could have developed to benefit economically, and the government lost its chance to do so. That's why the port became a loss-making entity. It isn't a debt trap, as they say. That statement shows the level of knowledge our education minister has. There are many who hold the dual citizenship status in the country. According to the minister's statement, all those people must be ones who don't love the country. Minister of Justice Thalatha Athakorala says that the Rajapaksas will not be able to contest the upcoming 2020 presidential election, mainly because the United States is about to initiate an investigation in how Chinese funds have played a role in Sri Lankan elections. Meanwhile, UPFA parliamentarian Kanchana Wijayasekara requests Minister Mangala Samaravira to reveal the truth as to who's really behind the New York Times article.
The report is a result of the US government needing to find out as to what Basil Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa is doing with Chinese funds here in Sri Lanka, as they are US citizens. So President Mahinda Rajapaksa has forgotten that none of them can contest the upcoming presidential election.
හේතුව කියනවා මිත්‍රවරුනි.
ලංකාවේ ඉන්න තොරතුරු දුන්නා කියන මාධ්‍යවේදීන් දෙදෙනා දිහා බැලුවම
When you take a look at the two local journalists who provided information to this article, one is a female journalist who is an editor in Mangala Samaravira's weekend newspaper. Her husband was appointed as the deputy director for the UNHRC in the foreign ministry under Mangala Samaravira. There is another journalist. He begins his career from a controversial Sunday newspaper. So this journalist during his career works very closely with Minister Mangala. So we request Minister Mangala Samaravira to reveal the truth on this matter.
මංගල සමරවීර ඇමතුමාට මේ පිළිබඳව කරුණු පැහැදිලි කරන්න.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, teachers and officials in the education sector is demanding strike action if the government decides to proceed with a program that would provide appointments to people who were victims of political vengeance. Responding to this demand, Minister of Education Akila Viraj Kariwasam says that trade unions are behind this move.
The Alliance of Trade Unions to Protect Education called for a media briefing today where representatives from 14 trade unions were present.
The government is attempting to fulfill their political needs by hiding behind the label victims of political vengeance and is providing their supporters with jobs at various educational services. So on the 4th of this month, every person attached to the education service will call in sick and we will arrive in front of the Education Ministry and will demand the minister to retract this decision. We have been fair and just in providing these jobs back to people who were victims of political vengeance. If you look at the very same people who are voicing this matter within these trade unions, they are the very same people who used this excuse to gain promotions in the previous administration. We can even name them. I vehemently condemn this action by these trade unions that would dismantle the education system. We can do politics separately, but don't attach this to it. The chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piri, says that time has come for former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa to engage in political activities. The professor made the claim at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
New York Times pattare.
It is clear that the CID has heavily supported the article written by the New York Times reporter. We will take necessary legal action against this. Meanwhile, we have invited former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa to come into the office of the joint opposition. He is already engaged in strengthening the political initiative by us through making connection with prominent businessmen and others. Time has come for him to directly be involved in the political activities. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Minister Basil Rajapaksa will also come together to this occasion when the former Defence Secretary comes into the office of the joint opposition. We will definitely file a court case for defamation because they insulted former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. The government of Japan assured a grant of 379 million rupees to enhance capacity building of the public sector officials. The grant will be used to train young executive officers in the public sector at Japanese universities in the hope of developing their administrative skills as future national leaders in their respective fields. The exchange of notes was signed recently at the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media between Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka Kenichi Sugimura and Finance Ministry Secretary Dr. R.H. Samarathunga. Now with that, it's time for more stories from across Sri Lanka.
The vehicle used in the Mathura jewellery shop theft and the vehicle owner has been taken into custody at Morgahena in Kalutara early this morning. The suspect arrested were produced before the Mathura Magistrates Court today and they were remanded till the 16th of this month. The students of the Faculty of Communication and Business Studies of the Trincomalee campus of the Eastern University engaged in a protest march and arrived at the University Grants Commission. They requested authorities to take prompt action over alleged examination malpractices and lack of infrastructure facilities for their university. An elephant who was part of the Mihinda Pusam procession went on a rampage attacking the public in Kawatte, injuring 31 people. According to police, when one of the elephants in the procession ran amok attacking the people, another 2 elephants in the procession also became agitated. The injured include a police officer who was on duty and 19 women. 10 of the injured have also been transferred to the General Hospital in Ratnapura.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Business news now. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation warns that if Sri Lankan Airlines fails to settle outstanding debts to the corporation by Wednesday, it will halt providing fuel on credit basis. According to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the decision has been informed to the state-run carrier.
Ceylon Petroleum Corporation distribute fuel to many state-run institutions on credit basis. However, following an agreement reached by the two state-run organizations, it was agreed to provide Sri Lankan Airlines fuel at a maximum credit of 13 billion rupees. However, the state-run carrier has reportedly exceeded its credit limit.
Since debt has exceeded 1.5 billion rupees, we informed Sri Lankan Airlines that we will have to halt distributing fuel on credit basis by this Wednesday, and if they require fuel, they will have to pay first. We gave them a credit limit of 13 billion rupees. This credit is long overdue and they have exceeded this amount.
Thereby, Minister of Petroleum Resource Development Arjuna Ranatunga said that discussions are currently being held with the President and Prime Minister.
We have a large amount to be obtained from Sri Lankan Airlines, but these are state institutions, so we cannot stop giving fuel on credit basis. In the upcoming days, we hope to hold discussions with relevant parties, including the President and the Prime Minister, and find a solution to this issue.
When we inquired into the matter from Sri Lankan Airlines, a spokesperson stated that discussions are being held with officials from Ceylon Petroleum Corporation in order to reach a deal.
More news from the CPC. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation launched European emission standard Euro 4 fuel in a bid to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and extend the efficiency of the engines of motor vehicles. The highly efficient Euro 4 fuel will substitute the existing 95-octane petrol and super diesel 4-star from today.
An event was held to launch the European emission standard Euro 4 fuel in Colombo today under the auspices of Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga. The minister ceremoniously dispensed Euro 4 from the first Euro spec fuel dispenser at a fuel station in Colombo. Chairman of Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Dhammika Ranatunga, CPC management and other dignitaries graced the occasion. Speaking at the event, the minister said the introduction of Euro 4 fuel to the local energy sector will propel the government's vision to transform its core energy products to meet the European emission standards.
South Korea has agreed to provide 2 concessional loans to the tune of $14 million to facilitate garbage collection in local authorities. The agreement was signed by Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and Planning Dr. R.H.S. Samarathunga and Chief Representative of the Export-Import Bank of Korea Jung Sung-soo at the Ministry of Finance today. The loans will facilitate in addressing the present inadequate capacity for collection and transportation of solid waste and outdated technology used for handling solid waste by a local authority. The project seeks to improve the capacity of garbage collection of 84 local authorities in the country. The interest rate per annum will be 0% with a repayment period of 30 years, including a grace period of 10 years. The project will be implemented by the Ministry of Provincial Councils, Local Government and Sports. To the stock market now, the Colombo Bourse was lower at the close today and losses in investment, trust, healthcare and power and energy sectors propelled shares lower. The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange fell 66.29 points to close at 6,128.34, while the more liquid S&P SL20 index ended at 3,348.28, down 40.60 points. Turnover was at 756 million rupees. Here is Imesh Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with a detailed report.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,862.79 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 172.69 million rupees and foreign sales were 483.87 million rupees. There were 7 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 579.53 million rupees.
Watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Got some good news to share with you, which has been reported by all international media outlets right now. All 12 boys and their football coach who were missing for 9 days in caves in Thailand have been found alive. The local governor confirmed that all of them are safe. A large-scale search operation was carried on for the past week in the Tuang Luang caves in Chiang Rai by the Thai rescue teams, who were later joined by international teams from USA, Australia, China and other countries. The boys aged between 11 to 16 and their 25-year-old football coach went missing on the 23rd of June when they went off to explore the vast Tham Luang cave complex in Thailand's northern province of Chiang Rai after soccer practices. The left-wing candidate Andrés Manuel López Obrador has claimed victory in Mexico's decisive presidential election. With his landslide victory, the ties between US and Mexico will be closely scrutinized, as López Obrador has been highly critical of US President Donald Trump due to his immigration policies by the US administration.
Andrés Manuel López Obrador decisively won Mexico's presidency yesterday, setting the stage for the most left-wing government in decades at a time of tense relations with the US President Donald Trump's administration. The latest figures show that López Obrador has won more than double the votes of his nearest challenger. It is the widest victory since the 1980s. His nearest rivals, Ricardo Anaya and Jose Antonio Meade, trailed significantly behind at just over 20% and around 15% respectively. Pledging to eradicate corruption and subdue drug cartels with a less confrontational approach, the 64-year-old former Mexico City mayor will carry his expectations into office, even as his efforts to reduce inequality are watched closely by nervous investors. López Obrador has been the candidate most critical of US President Donald Trump and had said he would make the US president see reason, branding his anti-immigrant policies irresponsible and racist. Despite these continuous criticisms against him, Trump sent a tweet of congratulations as soon as the preliminary results were published. Meanwhile, outgoing President Enrique Peña Nieto made a national address after the vote, hailing democracy in the country. Peña Nieto leaves office in December, tarnished by corruption allegations and security concerns. Mexico's largest election in history was also one of the bloodiest in decades. The 2018 electoral season kicked off in September last year, where 113 politicians were killed across Latin America's #2 economy.
Now here's Katharina Chang with your Other Than a forecast first for tomorrow.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures will range between 20 and 34 degrees Celsius over the course of the day, with some low precipitation zones to be expected in the western, southern and eastern region of the island over the next 24 hours. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that in the northern region of the island, some sunny weather is forecast for Jaffna. However, it is not so for the areas of Trincomalee, Batticaloa as well as in Putlam. Moving downwards, however, wet weather is forecast for most parts of the region, particularly thundershowers to be expected in the Kandy area as well as some wet weather for the cities of Colombo as well as in the Galle areas. That is it from your weather centre tonight. Up next is your city-wide city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Ada Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Before we wrap things up for tonight, we'd like to take you on a journey to tea producing regions in the island, producing 350 million kilograms annually and employing over 2% of the population of Sri Lanka. Ceylon tea is one of the top 5 export earners for the country. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Ada Derana 24/7.